All right, guys. So welcome to this video. Has been a popular demand video. People have been asking me how to calculate lot size on synthetic indices. Right? People have been asking me how do you calculate lot size on synthetic indices, and that is why this video was created. Right? I've been going through the feedbacks, and I said, okay, since people are asking for this, let us give it to them. Right now, before we enter into the main meat of the matter, you have to understand that now we have a website by Deriv that helps to calculate lot size. The link to the website is in the description, right? So we have websites and apps now that helps to calculating it. So you can check the description and you see the Deriv official platform for calculating lot size and all of those things in synthetic indices, right? So now that is it. So if you don't have a synthetic indices account, use the link in the description as well to get one ASAP with my link, my own customized link, and you'll be able to get that. Right? So just go through the comments, the description, and then go through the things that you need to go through, and then use the link that you need to use, right? So there are links, the apps and platforms to help with that now. There's an app to calculate it, and then there's a platform to do that, right? But let us learn how to do it manually. How do you calculate it? Okay, now if you do it quickly, maybe you want to enter a trade and you want to enter quickly, you don't have the time to start going to the website or using the app. How do you do it? You have to have, first of all, you have to have this table, right? So you have to have this table. Let me get that smaller. So you need to have this table. Very important. You must have this table. Right? It's actually a table that I've been using for the past 2 to 3 years now. It helps to calculate risk and all of those things. Right? It helps to calculate risk. And let me make it a bit smaller than that again. All right, so this is the table. All right, so this is the table that you use. All right, this is the table that you use. All right, very important table. All right, so it's very important you have this table. So to get this table, just join my Telegram community, right? I'll be posting this table in my Telegram community, right? Just join my Telegram community. I'll be posting this table there so you can have access to this table. So once you just get this table, carry this table and paste somewhere, maybe in your notepad or something, so you can have access to it. And if possible, you can just choose, okay, just copy as the pairs you trade. Maybe if you trade maybe only B75, right? You can copy it for 75, maybe to just stepping down, you can copy for stepping down, and then maybe trade B100, you can copy. So just copy out the pairs that you use, or just watch this. You can pause this video and then copy out the pairs that you trade. So any pair that you trade here, just copy it out. So I'll be going down a bit so you can see the ones below. So this is it. Just take a screenshot and then copy the one that you use. Right. I'm going down now. Right, so this is it. So this is for jump. Right, these are all the pairs. What is this? All right. All right. So let's copy it and write it down somewhere. All right. So that is basically how to do. So let's begin. Now, how do we use this table? How do we use this table? How do we use this table? Right? How do we use this table? All right. So it's very easy. Let us start with the first asset here. So the simple formula for calculating lot size it has always been the same, and that formula is simply what? Your risk in dollars, or whatever you use, divided by what? Divided by what? The stop loss in points or pips. Right. So this has always been the formula to calculate this lot size, right? It's very, very easy. You calculate the risk in dollars, like you're risking $50, $60, and then the number of stop loss in pips. So the stop loss in pips is gotten from the chart. So how many pips or how many points, right? So for this you don't use pips, right? Rather you just use points. So just kind of put a dash there so you guys can get it. So that stop loss in pips or points. You can either call it pips or call it points because this is synthetic indices. So it's not really pips as you know. So you can call it points. So stop loss and point. So your risk is divided by what your stop loss and point. That's how to get it. And I'll tell you how to use the individual. So let's start with this 10. So for this 10 now, let's assume that you want to risk we want to use a standard risk, right, for all of them. So using a standard risk of what? $50, right? You want to use $50 risk for all of them. Right, so it's easier for everyone to get. So $50 risk. That's your risk now. And let's assume that the number of points that you're risking is somewhere around, let me something. All right, so your stop loss in points is $50 risk, right? $50 risk, and the stop loss in points, let's assume that maybe you want to risk 25, or let's say you want to risk 6 points, right? So that's a 6 points. So that is it. So if you divide this 50 divided by 60, what's your lot size be? So if you divide 50 by 60, right? 50 divided by 6. So 50 divided by 6, your lot size will be what? 8.3. Right. So you know that synthetic indices can allow 8.3. So it's 8.33. That would be, if you divide this 50 over 6. So if you divide 50 over 6, you have 8.3. So that is the lot size you should be using for that. You should be using 8.3. 8.3. Right. 50 divided by 6 is what? 8.3. So your lot size is what? 8.3. So using 8.3 lots on this 10, right? This for this 10. They're all unique. So we have to learn how to do them uniquely. So that's for this 10. 8 points what? 8.3. All right, just give me more than me guess. All right, so your lot size was 8.3. So your lot size, that's your lot size. Remember the formula we're using risk over that. So lot size is now what? 8.3. That's for this 10. So this for this 10. This 10. And this is for this 10. All right, that's basically how to do it for this 10. So that is basically how to do it for this 10. All right, so you're getting us 8.3. All right, so that is it for this 10. Now for this 100, you can see that the minimum this is quite different, but for this 100, it's still it's quite different for this 100, because you can see that the point is different, right? It's different because 5 points is 5 points is $1, right? So this one is quite different from this 10. So let us quickly do that. So let us assume that we are still using the same risk for this 100. Remember the first one was this 10. Now the second one is this 100. So if you are using this 100, that means if you're using 0.2 lots, every 5 point movement is $1. Right? That means if the market moves if it moves 25 points, you have made what? A whole if it moves 25 points, that simply means that you have made what? $5, right? So you have to understand that. So let's assume that in this particular example, you want to risk the same amount, right? So but for this 100, it's still the same thing, the same approach. So these 3 pairs, you're using the same approach. Just divide the risk over the points, right? Just these 3 pairs, right? So one. So always they're doing them uniquely. So for this one, it's the same thing. For this, the same thing. These 3 pairs, the same approach, right? So just simply divide the risk divided by amount. Whatever losses you use, you get that's what you're using, right? So that's basically how to trade those three. Now just look at the number of points, right? So that's basically how you trade those 3 pairs, right? 1, 2, and 3, right? So now for the next one, this 50. This 50 has a kind of unique approach to trading, to calculating the risk, because you can see that the minimum lot size is different and the number of points is different, right? So this simply means that if you're risking $50 in this scenario, right, and let's say your stop loss is still 6 points, right, and you divide this, you should have 8.3. But for this 50, you don't put 8.3 directly because of what? The minimum lot size and the points difference, right? This first three, as you said, you don't need to do anything special to get the lot size for number 1, 2, and 3. But for this 50, you have to do something else to get the lot size because of what? The point difference, completely different, right? So it's that's approximately 0.4 or that's approximately 0.39. So for this 50, when you're calculating the lot size, you are multiplying the figure you get by 10 because of what? The minimum loss. You can see that this 50, the minimum lot size is what? 3, right? The minimum lot size is 3. We get that. So this 50 is very less volatile. So for this 50, you're multiplying your lot size by 10. So for this 50 now, is very unique. You must have to multiply the lot size by 10. So what we're using here is what? 8.3, I mean 83 lots. So you have to multiply by 10 to get the lot size of this 50. So I was taking them one by one, right? So remember that the first three, you just put it directly. You just divide your risk by your lot size and you put it directly. But for verse 50 now, you have to do what? You have to multiply by, this is verse 50 now. You have to multiply by 10. So you're going to be using 83 lots, right? So 83 lots is what you're going to be using for this 50. So you're going to still use the same points for everything, right? So since the points are now different, so we have to use what? 83 lots. So that is basically how we are calculating this 50, because this 50 is less volatile. You can see the minimum lot size is 3, and you can see the points if you want the minimum lot size. So you have to multiply this 50 by 10 to get the lot size. So is it 83 lots for that? So if you're using $50 and they're using 6 points, so you have to use 83 lots. That is basically how to use this 50. You have to use the 50 that way. All right, so I just think I should impute something at this other side, so I can be able to be looking at certain things at the point. So let's work with that in, so I can look at the pairs from the other side, right? So let's look at this 50. Let us look at something on the chart so I can have a better feel for what the market is doing. All right, so why that's goes up? Let's look at this 75. So let's this for this 50. For this 75, we are still using the same risk at the same point. We're just talking about the unique approach to each one, right? But let's talk about the unique approach to each one. Let us look at this 50 chart first before I look over that. So let's look at this 50. Let me look at something and see how the points I got in, because the points are not the same. The way the points calculated is not the same. So for this 50, let's quickly look at this 50. All right, so you can see it's okay. You can see it. So for this 50, you look at this digit. So if you look at this digits here, so you know at 2.03 to 2.04 is actually what? 1 point, right? So that is it. So you have to calculate it. All right. The pair is very slow. Pair is very, very less volatile. Very less volatile. This particular pair is very less volatile. So if there's any adjustment I need to make, I'll make it and tell you guys. So you can see 0.1. So that's basically it. Right. Now I want to say something about this 10 or this 50. The points are calculated differently, right? You're looking at the last digital, the last decimal. Let me explain. Unlike other pairs in which you're looking at the direct figures. So for this 50, that's those 6 points simply means, let's say 2.01.5 to 201, okay, let's say 201.3, right, to 201.9, right. This is actually 1 point. This is actually 6 points. So in this with 50, I think it's calculated differently. I'm not really sure of that now. So I think it's calculated differently. The points. So I think for this 50, it is calculated this way, right? So that is basically it. So you have to look at the points very carefully. All right, so 201.3. All right, so that is it. So that is basically it. So 20 from 201 up on to 204, right? That is it. So you have to look at it. You look this from 201.3 to 201, or just a 205. That is 6 points, right? So 205. Sorry, 207. I don't know why. This is 207.3. That is actually 6 points. So I have to calculate the points for this. So you have to put in this figure. Whenever you do multiply by 10, because it's very less volatile. So multiply your lesson by 10 to get what you're supposed to use for your risk, right? So that's basically how you calculate the risk for for um this particular pair. For V75, let's still use the same scenario now. Let's use for V75. So now look at V75, right? V75 now is what we're looking at. So V75, It's quite different. So if you divide it the 50 by 6, you're still using the same thing. So for V75, you can't get 6 points. What we have is 6,000 because it is in decimal. So you want to have 6 points in this, you have 6,000 points, right? So V75 is quite different. That you have 6,000 points because each point in V75 is 1,000. So it's not the same with other ones, right? So you have 6,000 points. So if you divide 50 divided by 6,000, so 50 divided by 6,000, right? You have 0.008. So this will give you 0.0083. So can I use 0.008 or 0.00? Can I use 0.008 or 0.002? So let us make it this thing. All right, so 6,000 points, you have was 0.00883. So can I just use 0.08 just to make it a random number because you can't use 83. So this is the lot size you should be using for V75. For V75, it is you have to divide, you multiply your point by 1,000 because that is how V75 is actually graded in 1,000 points. So you can see here V75 is graded in 1,000 points. So you have to calculate V75 by 1,000. So you can see that each point here is 1,000. So you can see that it is made in thousand points. So for V75 is quite different. You have to multiply the points by 1,000. So it's not 6, it's actually 6,000. So 6 represents 6,000 here. So you can see the point on the right. So you can see how it's graded. So for V75 is 1,000. So 1 point is 1,000. So that's basically how to calculate for V75. So we always add 1,000. Or even if you don't add 1,000, you can still do it this way. Even if you still want to do it the normal way, you can still do 6. And then when you have your final lot size, you divide by 1,000. So you have to either divide by 1,000. You can still do 5 and 6. You see how what you still have 0.83. So you now divide your loss by 1,000. So even if you do it this way, you still have to divide by 1,000. But the best way is to add 1,000 to your point because everything in V75 is done within 1,000. So you have to look at each point. Everything is in 1,000. Right? So that's basically for V75. You add 1,000 to your points, right? It's not 6, it's 6,000. So for step index, is something similar, right? For step index is something very, very similar. All right. So let's still use the same in this course. Step index is you have to divide step index is done differently. So you have to if you have 50 divided by 6, right? So let's say we had 50 points and we divided by 6, we're still going to have what? 0.83, right? This was step index now, step index. So we're going to have that 0.8, that 8.3. So now for step index, is done a bit differently, right? A bit differently, right? You're going to have to divide the you're going to have to divide your answer by 0.1, right? Or you have to divide it by 10, sorry. So you have to divide your answer by 10. So what you'll be having on this will not be what you have to divide your answer by 10. Or let's say you can do it directly. So you can divide your lot size by 10, the points by 10, because step index is in decimal. So you have to divide it by 10. So for step index, you divide by 10. So once you divide it, so that will be 5 divided by 0.6. So that's basically what you'll be doing. Right? So you do 50 divided by 0.6. So you multiply it by 10, sorry. Multiply by 10. So you have to multiply this by 10, sorry. So you have to do 50 divided by 60. So you're having your lot size is 0.83, right? So for step index, you're multiplying by 10. Your stop loss in points, you're multiplying by 10. So that will give you 0.83. So this one is done differently, 0.83. Right, so 0.83. You're dividing, I'm doing it individually because each one is done uniquely. So for step index, you have to multiply your points by 10. So once you just get your points, you multiply by 10, right? Multiply by 10. If you 6 points, right, you have to multiply by 10. So that's basically how to calculate for step index. So you can see step index here is quite done quite differently. So step index, you can see how the points are graded in decimal. So you have to multiply by 10. So you can see it's there. 83.57. So if you just get 6 points, you must divide by 10. Multiply your so if you maybe you're about to use let's say you want to use 6 points here, right? So you have to multiply it by 10. So if maybe you're doing 6 points, it has to be 60 points. You're using 50 points. If it's 5 points on the chart, like From 8364 to 8365 is 1 point. So you have to make it 10 points. So we're calculating your risk, you multiply by 10 to get your lot size. That's how to use step index. So always use a demo account to test this thing. Don't just go and use my word for you. Just use a demo account to test it so you can be sure you have gotten it. All right, so that's how to do for step index. You have to divide it by 10. Divide it by 10. Also multiply by 10 so you can get your lot size. Multiply by 10. Remember, each one I've given you, the best thing you can do for yourself is to have individual pairs for synthetic entities. Have individual pairs. Have individual pairs. Have individual pairs, right? So that is basically how you do it for step index, right? So just note each one that I explained here so you can have a better feel for what I'm doing. All right, so we're going to just do few of them. The others the ones that are easier to calculate because so we will not waste time. I will show you guys how to use the website, right? So I'll just quickly run through the ones that are kind of easier to use. So for jump, let us just quickly run over to jump, but I don't have to do serial anymore. Other ones I'll just show you guys how to do it on the website. All of those are the easy ones, the ones that are easy to calculate, right? So for this 25 1s now let's look at the 25 1s. It's still very less volatile. So for this one, if you divide, you remember what you're doing. You're doing what? Risk over SL in points, right? So if you do that for this guy, what are you going to have? You're going to have 5 divided by 6. So if you get 5 divided by 6, you are going to have what? 5 divided by 6. You're going to 50 divided by 6. You will have what? You're going to have 8.3. But for this example, you have to divide your final lot size multiplied by 0.01. So you have to multiply your final loss size. So you have to do 0.01 times final loss size. And have to get your loss size for 25 owners, right? So you have to multiply. So if you get 50 divided by 6, you get what? You get 8.3. You have 8.3 here. So you have 8.3 on this one. So if you multiply by 0.01, you have the loss size to use. So using 0.083. Right, so that's how to use that 0.083. That's how to use that for it. So for this 25 1s, remember, so if it's 75 1s, this pair, you have to multiply your final loss size by 0.01. So you have to multiply your final loss size by 0.01. So just note it. Whatever pair that you trade, just note the pair that you trade. Just note the pair that you trade. Remember, I said if it's 25 1s, you do it. All right. So that's it. So let me just quickly just do one or few more. So the Samsung that is for this 25 175 1s. You have to multiply by 0.01 because it's very less volatile. All right, it's very less volatile. You have to multiply it to be able to use it. Right. Let me quickly look at the chart on that. Let's look at it quickly. All right, so that's basically how to do it for with 25 owners. It's very less volatile, right? So for now, the next one is this 25 1s, which is quite done differently. That one is very easy. So for that one, once you multiply 50, once you divide 50 by 6, you have the lot size in you have the lot size in you have the lot size value. So if you do 50 divided by 6, you still have your 8.3. But for this 25 1s, now remember, now you're going to do this 25 1x. So for this 25 1s, let me just quickly edit this. So this video is very long because of the things you're doing here. So for this 25 1s, right? 25 1s is the next one I'm doing now. So for 25 1s, you have to do 50 divided by 60. So divided by 6, and then what do you do next? You multiply it by 0. So you divide it by 0.001, right? For this one, you divide by 0.001. So there's a difference here. For this one, you multiply your final answer by 0.001. So you have to divide it by 0.001. So once you get the risk and the points, I get 8.3. You multiply by 0.001. That is how they get 25 You multiply the final answer by 0.001. That's how you get your risk, right? You divide the final answer by 0.001. Why for 75 you divide by 0.01? For this one is 0.001 because 75 is more volatile than 75 right? So that is it. Now for Mr. S, you do it the same way as you do with this first three, right? This 10 1S is still the same calculation with what this 10. So just that same way you did for this 10 and 125. You did the same way. So just the same lot size. So just you don't do anything, you just simply divide it. No further mathematics, just simply divide the risk over the point. That is all. That is all for this 10S. Just direct mathematics. Direct mathematics. All right. Now um for this particular guy, it's quite different. Well, I think I should just show you guys how to use the calculator. I never show you guys how to use the calculator quickly so you guys can have an understanding. But before that, let's just look at this guy. So let's look at let's look at this 51S. So for this 51S, well, let us do 101S first. So for this 101S, that one is quite different. So if you do your usual thing now for 51S, right? I may not be very correct with all these ones. So for 101S, you simply do something like this. You do 50 divided by 6, which will give you what? Your 8.3. So for this one, you're going to do what? You have to divide your answer by 10. So you have to divide your answer by 10. So you're using 0.83 lots. So you're using 0.83. So for this 10 1s, you're dividing your lot size by you're dividing by 10. So you have to divide your final answer by 10. So final answer divided by 10 will give you the lot size to use, right? Final answer divided by 10. So right, so final answer divided by 10. So that is it. Right, so that is it. So you have that's how to do for that guy. That's how to do for this 10 1s. Just divide your final answer divided by 10. So that's simply how to get it. So final answer divided by 10. That's how you get for this 10 1s. Very easy and very easy. Right, so that's that. So you divide your final answer by 10. You get your lot size. Right, so that is it for 10 1s. You have to divide your final answer by 10. So that means you're using 0.83 for to get that. So for this 51s now, right? I think I've ended at 51s before then. We can now wrap it up. So for 51s, we're doing something similar to V75. So for 51s, it's also graded in thousand, right? So it's graded in thousand, but the minimum lot size here is the minimum lot size for this is actually 0.005. It's very volatile. So 51s, once you divide the risk by the points, what do you do next? Right, you divide your sorry for 51s, you're adding 1,000 to your points. So see the same thing will be 75. So adding 1,000, so you have 5 divided by 6,000. Remember that for this is the same thing will be 75. So you're having 6,000. So if you divide 50 divided by 6,000, you have what? 0.008. So once you have a 6,000, right? So it's still the same thing, you have 0.008. So that is basically the same thing for V75 and 2500. So you're doing the same thing. So you have 0.008. So that is it. You're not doing anything now, just get your point in thousand because it's graded in thousand. So that's how to get for 51s. So you just use in thousand. Right. For crash and boom, all the crash and boom from crash 1,000 to crash this four, right? Crash 1,000, crash 500, boom 1,000, boom 500. They are all done in one similar way, right? Simple. So if you divide 50 divided by the number of points that you have, So if you get your point, you just simply put your lot size directly, right? You put your lot size directly for boom and crash. So if maybe you get you want to risk $50, and let's look at boom and crash charts. You can understand what I'm talking about. So for boom and crash, this also is a boom for crash 500. But this is crash 500 now. This is a crash 500 chart. So it's still just the same thing. Right. So for crash 500, you just put in your lot size directly, right? Just directly. So we have 6 points, 5,000 and six what. If you divide it directly, you have what? Your 8.3. So for boom and crash, it's just direct calculation. No other thing. Just do 8.3 directly. So that's how to get it for it. So 8.3 is the lot size using 6 points. So 6 points simply means from 4220 to 4226. So using 8 lots, what do you use on $50 risk on this? Right, so we're using 8.3 lots. So just direct. So for boom, crash 1000, crash 500, boom 1000, boom 500 is just the same calculation, right? So that is it. So we're wrapping up now. Let's go to the last one. Let's look at jump. So jump is also similar. For jump now, I won't talk about all these other new assets. I don't know how to really do that. I'm not sure you can have to use the app for them. So for this older assets, for jump, for this game $50, I'm using 6 points. Let us go to the jump chart. Let's go to a jump chart. Say jump chart. So for a jump chart, jump, this is jump 50. So for jump, all the jump charts have similar calculation, right? For a jump chart, this is it. All right, so for jump chart, you can see it's it's moving in very quickly, like moving 10 points. So assuming that you want to risk 60, so you have to calculate everything here. So you have to calculate it here. So jump is very wide. So you cannot get 6 points in jump. You like to get 600 points. So jump is kind of 100 points. So you easily get 10 points, right? So you likely get 60 points, right? You likely get 60 points in jump. Depending on the jump, you likely get 60 points and all of that. Right? For jump, you divide on 50 divided by what? The risk directly, right? So you divide it by the risk directly, so you know your lot size that you should be using, right? So it's direct mathematics too. So assuming that we are using 60 points now, because jump cannot use 6 points in jump in this particular job. You can only use 6 points. What are using 60 points? So maybe you're using 60 points now, you just simply get 50 divided by 60. So it's 0.8. So using was 0.8. So you're getting was 0.83. So you cannot use 83. So once you're using 0.8, so you can use 0.83. All right. So that's how to do this. How to do this. So each 100 points is $1. Right. So if you are using 0.83, let us see. So that's basically how you do it for jump. Just calculate it directly and you put in your lot size. Right? So for these other ones, you can I won't talk about boom 300 boom all of those ones. I'll just show you guys how to use the website and I'm depending it. For this is just for the manual calculation. So let us now go to the live how to I'll be posting the video on how to do it with the website automatically. So it can be very easy for you guys, right? So at the end of this particular call now.